Morning. I just wanted to pop in, hopefully really quick, and discuss training up a child in the way we should go. Proverbs 22:6. The training, it says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, it will not depart from them. It is the training. And I was sitting, speaking with someone, and I was listening to them. They're going through a situation, and I was listening to how they were speaking. They were sharing with me something that they were sharing with their children about a family member. Now, the family member, it could be a parent, a grandparent, a cousin. I just want us to get the teaching and the principle of it. Don't get hung up on the who. And it bothered me because as I sat there and I listened to this individual, I was just like, you said what to your child about your family member, about this person? And what bothered me, and I did speak up. I told the individual, I said, you have to train up your child in the way they should go. And I said, a lot of times we get caught up and we think training, watch this, is just going to school, learning your ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. Or learning science, math, and technology, right? And all that's important. Don't get me wrong. Many of us think us in just good church attendance, making sure our kids are engaged and involved, learning the books of the Bible and the scriptures. All good. All of it. Not knocking that. But like I told the individual, we have to start looking at our love walk. And this highlighted on me and is in me because the Lord is also refreshing. I like the word my cousin uses. She says, recalibrating me and aligning me back up to my love walk. And when you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, it talks about you can have all this good stuff, gifts and tongues and prophecy. But if you don't have love, don't mean nothing. You can attend church every day. You can be at worship service. You can be shouting and praising God and responding to the word and preaching the word and serving the people. But if you don't have love, and then in that same chapter, I believe it starts around the 4th verse, it then begins to give us a measuring stick of what God's expectation is of how we live out love. And there's 3 of them in there. It's a list of them, and each one I know is different for every one of us. But there's 3 of them that just registers with me. And one of them said, love holds no record of wrong. And I know that ain't easy. That can be challenging. No account, no record. You did this. You doing this. Love don't do that. This says love is not puffed up. Now, we hear that word puffed up and we think pride and arrogance. That too is true. But love is also not, puffed up in the sense where, because you going to church, you better than this person. No. Because you doing this and they doing that, you better. No. And then there's another one in that same account of the record. I believe it says, love does not rejoice in sin. And that rejoice don't mean just literally celebrating. We not shouting and clapping and victorious when we know something is sinful, but we also are not pointing out someone else's sin happily, if you know what I mean. So in talking with this individual and listening to how this person was speaking to a child, I work for a school district, and the encountering that I see and the things I hear coming from our young people. And our young people have challenges today because a lot of them are in blended families. That's not a negative. It's just there's different adults and different lifestyles and different things. And, 1 week they with this parent, next week they with that parent, or a lot of them being grown up or raised up by grandparents, And so I don't say this negatively because I understand life gives us different situations and challenges, but we have to be careful because what I'm learning, and I apologize if this offends somebody in advance, but Our children and their condition is not just the school system. A lot of this stuff is coming from at home. Parents, guardians, aunts, uncles, siblings, cousins. It's an at-home conversation, an at-home behavior, an at-home conduct. And I told this person that I was speaking to, I said, that's not right. You need to train your children up in love. Whatever that family member is doing, you acknowledge that the behavior, the conduct, the attitude, the lifestyle is not right. But then you tell them, we're going to pray for that family member. We're not going to condemn that family member. We're going to lift mommy and daddy and aunt and uncle and grandma and grandpa up in prayer. I thought about Jesus when he was talking to the woman at the well. That woman was living a lifestyle with 5 other husbands she had. You know, but the love of God didn't condemn. It just had a conversation. And I know sometimes, depending on what we're going through, the situations that we are inquiring, we can't have that one-on-one conversation with people. And I respect and I understand our emotions sometimes get out of control. But we have to be careful of what we are saying to our children. We need to train them up in love. And we pray for people. When I was growing up, parents would not allow you to be in adult conversations. Forget talking. You wasn't even listening. Go downstairs. You wasn't in the next bedroom where you could overhear. Go outside and play while grown folks is talking. Some of y'all know. Woo! I'm not trying to make light of this thing. I'm serious about it, because how we are training up our young people and in their love walk. At my church, when I work with the young people now, you know, they learning scripture. They knowing where to find it. They knowing what it's saying. But now we transitioning in, especially with our teenagers, on what does that mean? How do we apply that to our lives? That's the training up. Because some of us are not focusing on that love walk. We making sure they in church. We making sure they doing their homework. We making sure they in activities and sports. But we not making sure that they in that love walk. You know, and it's hard, because this is the key. And what I'm learning, because even we as adults, we get influenced. We get injected with stuff by what we hear, by what we see, by the conversations that we are engaged in. And it influences our thinking sometimes towards the individual. It changes our behavior. And so how much more do you think it's going to be with a child? And when I say child, I'm not talking 5, 6, 7. It includes them. But I'm talking, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Many of you over 30, 40, 50 years old and still are impacted by some of the things that happened in your childhood. So we have to do better when it comes to our young people and how we talking to them, how we communicating with them, what we allow them to be engaged in. Because guess what? All of us have erred. If you talking to a child and you planting seeds about another person or another family member that is negative and trying to make it seem like that person ain't doing what's right and that person is wrong and I love you more, and that is not Christ. That is not Christ. Because if truth be told, y'all gonna get mad. If God allowed the door to be opened up on some of the behavior and the conduct that we have done to our children, so that they can see what we was doing when we thought nobody else was watching, what we was doing when we thought we was just on a chat session on an iPhone, what we were doing. We have to examine ourselves and make sure that we are not intoxicating and damaging our young people. And I bring that out because all of us have erred. I didn't mean for this to be that long, but that thing messed with me. We got to get our love walk and cover and protect our families. blended or non-blended family. You know, God holds us accountable for that. How you raising up your children, how you conducting yourself, what you saying in front of them, what you doing in front of them. I know you can spotlight the other person. I know. And I'm not even condoning, because we have to teach our young people that the lifestyle, the communication, the conduct, whatever it may be, no, that's not right. But we gonna lift this person up in love. We gonna pray for this person. And we're not gonna mistreat this person, because God requires us to always conduct ourselves with respect. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And I say this, even for us as adults, it's not easy, right? But we gotta be careful with our young people. You know, we gotta be careful with our young people and not expose them to so much by our conversations, our actions, our behavior, our conduct. We have to be careful, and we have to do better with that. I love y'all. I hope this helped. I know it's probably all over the place, but train up a child, Proverbs 22:6. That's the whole child, not just school and church attendance, but that's how they conduct themselves. You know, the seed you planting in them, how they think, how they process, how they act it out, how they communicate. My God in heaven, we have to do better. And yet, like I said, I spoke up in this conversation. I wasn't silent at all. And I told the individual, I said, you know what? That's not right. It's bad enough that you're going through what you're going through and your kids are being impacted by it. But how you communicate with them regarding the situation is just as effective and impactful in their lives. What you're allowing them to be exposed. And then you have to make sure that your family, your friends is in line with what is being communicated in front of your children. You know, when you already don't have God's love in a family, and then we take that and we manipulate it, or we increase it, or we multiply it, that non-God's love by our communication. It impacts our young people. And then you looking at your sons and your daughters and you seeing why they struggling and why they, because of you. I'm sorry, but that thing is messing with me this morning, because I just thought, you know, are you kidding me? Are you saying this to your children? It's bad enough our lives as adults already ain't perfect and ain't good, but you now exposing your kids to a conversation like this? Yes, don't condone wrong, bad behavior, lifestyle, and conduct. But at the same token, we got to teach that love walking and plant it in them. That if nothing else, we're going to keep that family lifted up in prayer. Lifted up to God and ask God to help them come out of that. God bless you. That's enough. I got to get to work. I love y'all. Thank y'all for listening to me rant on train up a child. That wasn't a rant. No. Train up a child. You meditate on that. Training. That's the key. Okay. I'm done. Have a good day.